The following content has been generated with artificial intelligence under minimal human supervision. The data presented may contain errors or inaccuracies. The opinions expressed in this content do not necessarily reflect the vision, position, or values of DigiAll. We recommend verifying critical information with additional sources before making decisions based on this content.
Welcome to DigiAll Tech News. Today is Sunday, July 5th, 2026. I'm Kylie Brooks, and this is where technology becomes clear and engaging. AI is not just writing text, it is changing how readers judge language, authorship, and even suspicion itself. Mistral AI is leaning into enterprise deployments and European tech sovereignty, rather than trying to win the consumer chatbot popularity contest. A small mental health startup shows how AI can act less like a product feature and more like a near-zero-cost startup advisor. Midjourney wants Disney, Universal, and Warner Brothers to reveal their own internal generative AI use in a major copyright fight. Researchers say trained AI can identify salmon lice larvae far faster and more accurately than experienced biologists in complex seawater samples. Let's start with language, because this is one of the quieter ways AI can reshape daily life. Large language models are now good enough that simple detection tricks do not hold up. In one forensic linguistics test by Claire Hardiker at the University of Lancaster, people correctly identified AI-written hotel reviews only about 60% of the time. And the usual internet clues like cliches, M-dashes, or the rule of three are not reliable, because human writers have used those patterns for generations. That matters because suspicion is becoming part of the reading experience. Jamia Nazir's prize-winning short story faced AI accusations that were later denied. Hachette withdrew the debut horror novel Shy Girl after unproven rumors, and Stephen Rosenbaum acknowledged that the future of truth contained hallucinated quotes. Meanwhile, linguists are tracking model-like habits, words such as delve, boast, and showcase, heavier use of nouns and attributive adjectives, fewer pronouns, and a pull toward more Anglo-American English. Here's the bigger question. Is AI making language richer by accelerating change, or flatter by nudging everyone toward the same polished middle? The careful answer is probably both, depending on context. AI can smooth grammar and sequencing, but writers and teachers are still pointing to something harder to automate. The embodied social judgment behind a surprising twist, a tellable arc, or a sentence that feels unmistakably human. Mistral AI is often described as Europe's answer to OpenAI, but that framing misses the interesting part. Its consumer product, Vibe, formerly Le Chat, does not have ChatGPT-level recognition, and Claude remains more popular even among Paris founders. Mistral's real strategy looks more enterprise-heavy. Forward-deployed engineers help governments and large companies run models and agent tools on their own infrastructure, while the Forge platform supports custom models built with customer data. The numbers explain why Europe is paying attention. Annual recurring revenue passed $400 million in February, up from $20 million a year earlier, and the company says it is on track to top $1 billion in annual recurring revenue in 2026. It is also rumored to be raising $3.5 billion at a valuation of $23.15 billion. The sovereignty angle is not abstract here. Mistral has acquired infrastructure firm Koyeb, laid out a €4 billion data center strategy in France and Sweden, and lined up partnerships spanning Microsoft Azure Distribution, NVIDIA's Mistral Compute Platform, ASML, Accenture, IBM, Orange, Stellantis, France's Army and Job Agency, and others. In practical terms, Mistral is betting that the market wants tailored AI. It can control not just a chatbot subscription. The trade-off is that enterprise credibility and open weight buzz still have to fund the kind of research pace needed to compete with frontier US labs. Now this is a very different AI story. Not a lab, not a model release, but a founder trying to build a real service faster. Here Now Health launched in January 2025 from Michelle Turner's home in Virginia Beach. It serves foster children through Medicaid-funded mental health counseling, and it now has 16 employees and certifications in 3 states. Turner is a first-time sole female founder, a mother of 6, and came from non-profit experience rather than the typical MBA startup track. She used AI tools as a kind of startup advisor, building business plans, sharpening investor pitches, and learning the culture and language of fundraising quickly enough that funding followed. That matters because it points to a more practical productivity story. AI is not only replacing or augmenting office tasks inside big companies, it can lower the barrier for people who already understand a problem but lack the traditional business playbook. Economists and officials are watching that dynamic closely, with the Federal Reserve examining AI's effects on productivity, growth, inflation, labor, business formation, and skilled worker shortages. But the labor picture is not neatly optimistic. The same shift that helps a founder move faster can rearrange clerical and administrative work, and Brookings estimates that about 23 million workers could be stranded by structural changes. So, is this really job creation or job disruption? In the near term, it is both. Here, Now Health is a concrete example of AI helping a non-AI native business hire and expand, while the broader economy still has to decide how to absorb the work that gets compressed along the way. The Hollywood AI lawsuits are now turning into a fight over what studios do behind the scenes. Disney and Universal sued Midjourney in June 2025, and Warner Bros. Followed in September 2025, accusing the image generation startup of unauthorized copying tied to famous characters, including Bart Simpson, Darth Vader, Superman, and Batman. Midjourney's latest move is to push for discovery into the studio's internal generative AI use, not just consumer-facing videos and images. A judge had previously limited production to consumer-facing material, but Midjourney argues that the narrower view lets studios choose evidence that supports their market harm claims, while withholding internal practices that could help a fair use defense. The company specifically wants to know whether studio tools use unlicensed copyrighted material for storyboarding or ideation, and it is also asking for every prompt the studios entered into Midjourney and all resulting outputs. The studio's lead counsel calls that a fishing expedition and frames the cases more narrowly, stopping unauthorized copying of protected characters, not stopping AI development. Here's why this matters beyond one startup. If courts only examine what AI companies ingest, the case is about training and outputs. If discovery opens up how media companies themselves use generative tools internally, it becomes a broader question about industry custom, double standards, and what fair use means when nearly everyone is experimenting. And finally, an AI result from aquaculture where the benchmark is refreshingly concrete. Researchers at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology and Wageningen University trained models on more than 120,000 real and synthetic images of Lepiophthirus salmonis larvae. The images came from a custom video microscope sampling thousands of cubic meters of seawater near fish farms in Ålesund. In a direct comparison on one large, complex sample, experienced biologists took more than 30 hours across several days and identified 82% of the larvae. The AI model finished in 30 minutes with 97.5% accuracy. The system has to distinguish nauplii and copepodite stages from hundreds of thousands of other plankton and particles, using both real footage and synthetic image variations like scaling, rotation, flipping, brightness, sharpness changes, and compositing. In practical terms, this could shift salmon lice monitoring from indirect estimates based on adult lice counts toward direct larval mapping in the sea. That matters for fish farms, wild salmonids, and Norway's traffic light regulatory system, which limits production based on estimated mortality risk to wild salmonids, with a target below 10%. The grounded takeaway is not that biologists become irrelevant. It is that tedious, high-volume detection may become faster and more consistent, giving experts better evidence for prevention, site selection, and production planning. The next test is whether this kind of accuracy holds up in continuous real-world ocean monitoring across different seasons and locations. Today's through line is that AI is moving into trust systems. Trust in language, national tech capacity, small business formation, creative rights, and environmental monitoring. The most important question is not just what the model can do, but who gets to verify it, govern it, and rely on it. Thank you for staying informed with Digital Tech News. We'll be back with more updates as they develop.